Pro League and finally put an SEA team through to an APAC finals and through to a global finals for the first time in many seasons as we head into Consulate.
As you mentioned, Jordan, this is Aerowolf's chance to put an SEA team into the Pro League finals in Milan. It's never happened before. Aerowolf managed to get to the Six Invitational 2017, and they're hungry to return global. But Fnatic, it's a streak for them, and they don't want to upset that. Let's get into the bans, though. Here on Consulate, Nomad and Thatcher. I mean, Nomad, you've talked about some of the Nomad strats you like to use on this map, but I mean, like, both operators very useful on this side.
Definitely, especially the Thatcher. I think that's a strong ban from Aero, and another strong ban with the Valkyrie. We talked about how Fnatic really like to use that Valkyrie intel, and they're not going to be able to use it on Consulate. It's often a big piece of how they play the map on defense, so that's a really good ban. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, if you gave Fnatic another team skin, I think they'd probably be tempted to chuck it on the MPX because Magnet's so, you know, historically good on that operator. But also then there's the actual operator that the Fnatic team skin's on the Thatcher, and, you know, that's off the table as well.
Yep, so Fnatic are going to start the first half here on defense, and they will take the Garage Cafeteria as their first bomb site. Nothing particularly special at this stage with their lineup. Very intel-based lineup here. Another iconic thing that Fnatic love to do, especially with this bomb site on Consulate, is this mute. They pioneered a lot of really interesting mute jammers that came into pro play through putting them on elevated shelving down there, which really hinders the way you drone that first floor. So I'd expect to see them play those again. We do see Magnet 6 pick off the smoke to a Bandit. It's an interesting 6th pick because the Bandit's good, but losing a smoke?
Yeah, I mean, smoke is so good, and it's so rare really these days that you'll actually see a successful Bandit trick onto the Garage. You know, it's fairly common that you will see. Okay, I guess that's just for hearing. They're opening up the wall, but yeah, it's so difficult commonly to actually Bandit trick this Garage, but you know, anything's possible for Fnatic at the moment. I also want to point out that Pulse from Virtue is another thing that we see very commonly from Fnatic. He runs below, down inside of the servers and archives, just below where we've seen some reinforcements from Aces. He can gather information onto the Visa side, the lobby side, and even propel Fnatic towards doing a late flank. Once you check up Visa stairs, you see if there are any players watching that flank, and if the answer is no, Fnatic, you know, they've been known to send 1 or even 2 players up on that flank to refrag and take map control away from the attackers.
Yeah, so we're going to see Lusty on a bit of a roam here upstairs. He's throwing a few goo mines down just to slow down that push of Aero if they're trying to take upstairs. Aero at this stage just collecting their intel off their drones, and they're all over the map at the moment. They're still deciding how they're going to take it. Ysera is opening these windows. They look like they're going to take it from top down, and they look like they might use the buck for that vertical pressure just to clear the mute jammers if they need, the bandit charges if they need to. At this stage, Luna is opening one of these rear hatches, so we might see either a rear push or a potential rear flank. The Pulse is getting that intel, though. He's aware that someone's on those Visa stairs, so they're going to have to be careful that they don't die to a C4 early.
Yeah, it's such a classic C4 spot as well, isn't it? In the Visa, just underneath that floor, and you know, Virtue in the optimum place to make that happen. But you know, for Fnatic right now, it's fairly spread out. A C4 will go out, but I believe that he picks that up again on account of the kill being taken from Lusty holding up in the top floor. Virtue, though, he might actually spot out this player. There's a drop. Virtue's now going to be very prepared for this gunfight, and I'm not sure if Hysterics is. In fact, Virtue wins that one, going very low for his trouble, but Aerowolf are in the backseat right now, and that's even further exaggerated by Fnatic on this run out. It's such a strong position for the Aussies right now, and just Ysera to find 5 kills and retake this entire map.
Yeah, and this is what you need to do when your back's against the wall. You need to take some risks early to try and get that momentum back in your favor. And the fact that Fnatic have played this so aggressively are really going to slow down Aerowolf's momentum and really change the way their moods are going. So Hysteria's going to step on that goo mine. They're fully aware that he's up in the admin office at the moment. There's really not too much he's going to be able to do, potentially using this time again as a pseudo timeout. We do see Luna Metal talking to them quite a lot. He's heading to the roof, which is the safest spot on the map, and he's just going to AFK there so he can chat to his team. It's really interesting how these pseudo timeouts are being used between these two teams in these maps.
Yeah, and it's something we actually see really rarely. It's not every day that you actually see this kind of timeout, but what's fantastic is we actually have full eyes on the players, and you can see it's Glenn, Luna Metal, just a second from the left, having a chat right now, and Ysera as well to his left. They're talking about what they need to do and the differences that they'll need to employ to get the next round. It's the same thing Fnatic did on Oregon, and I think that Aerowolf could definitely get a lot out of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and we're going to have 30 seconds left of this round to play out. It looks like Hysteria is going to just test his mouse scroll potentially just to make sure that that's working ready for the next round as well.
Obviously, it's the most important part of your kit, isn't it? Just making sure that mouse scroll works.
That's it. And he's finally going to rappel back down here. We're going to see this round close out. It'll be interesting to see how Aero will adapt now based off that pseudo timeout and the way this round has played out. Fnatic playing strong early. He's going to shoot the C4. That's as good as a frag in my books. And we're going to close this round out in favor of Fnatic here. Ystera will get another kill, but that's it. Magnet will finish him off. Strong defense at the start for Fnatic.
And that's interesting to me, the way that Fnatic held that being completely successful. Because it's the every time I see Fnatic defend that top floor, it's more or less the same thing. They play, you know, roamers downstairs. Sorry, every time they defend that bottom stall, they're the same thing. You know, they have that roamer inside of archives gathering information, and often a roamer upstairs as well. The idea with that roamer upstairs is, you know, very frequently you'll see a roam clear start maybe from admin and clear the whole top floor, and these players from Fnatic, they'll delay as much time as possible, but get away with their lives and then use that pulse to late flank. And I really think that the thing that was missing from Aerowolf was that top floor clear. They never actually pushed that player downstairs. They tried to overcomplicate things and clear out the pulse first, and I think that the order of operations was just a little bit out for Aerowolf.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think they really should have focused more on that top floor and cleared that out a lot quicker, because then they could have had some kind of foothold on the map, and then they could have really started to move around and push out the defense. But not to be. Fnatic will take the top floor bomb site now for their second choice. Nothing particularly different about their lineup. They will have Lusty on that mirror, which we saw him playing yesterday. Again, that classic Lusty player, placing it really late in that connector facing the CEO windows. Hopefully Aero have got a read on that. We did see Cyclops Gaming counter that very well yesterday with someone repelled ready for it on the window. It's going to be a heavy denial of admin here early. We see a lot of utility dedicated to this side, including Mute Jammer and this mirror. It's going to be really interesting to see how Aero decide to take this, whether they want to push into this admin or whether they decide to just push the CEO windows.
And you know, I think that's actually a really great point, the fact that you touched on how Cyclops countered some of these Fnatic players on the defensive side, because, you know, Aerowolf, if they're going to watch any VODs of Fnatic last night to prep for this morning, which I know for a fact that they were doing, that's probably going to be Cyclops. Like, that's the most recent VOD. It's what Fnatic are like performing at this LAN event, and even more than that, it's on Consulate. So Aerowolf likely just on the back of watching some of Fnatic's VODs on this map. So despite that early remiss take onto the bottom floor, they may well be a little bit more organized for this top take.
Yeah, Luna has gone back onto this Montaigne as well, which we've seen help them a lot just to be able to get that intel. It helped them so much on Oregon with their attacks. I think it's something that Aero likes, is just be able to face check and get that live intel. They don't like to worry about their drones so much. So I like that pick from them again. And that position was pinged out, but that person's moved away. The Capital on those windows. They are taking more of an admin side at this stage. Rizraz has rotated down into the Visa, and Magnet is also there, so potentially seeing a C4 come out sometime soon. And a run out from Rizraz. He takes Mentalist out on the window, and that is the Thermite. Not so critical for this top floor attack. Luna does push in and get the trade. That's a nice push from him. Ystera in Visa also, so they've got some nice angles and some good control of admin here. They can really start to progress to bomb site.
Oh wow, and that's actually an injure onto Lusty as well inside of the meeting room bomb site. He may well get revived. It looks like Aces wants to take advantage of that opportunity, and no follow-up drone from Aerowolf after that grenade from Hysterics means that Fnatic get themselves with Lusty back up on the board again. Virtue also returning from his roam, trying to assist on the bomb site. Wow, he's not even punished as he sprints down long desk. Aerowolf just missing a few opportunities here, but for Fnatic, they're feeling much more happy now as they have their players up and on the board. Magnet, though, in a very precarious position. He's aware that Hysterics is nearby, but there's no drone onto Pulse just yet. Hysterics going to piece on out of that garage.
Hysterics lucky to not be dead there. If Magnet had just picked that corner, Hysterics wasn't even looking, so unfortunately missed opportunity there for Fnatic. Although Lusty wasn't eventually fragged out, he is low on the 20 HP now with that new change. You cannot really do an effective reset, so it will be a disadvantage, especially come execute time. This Montaigne has pushed up quite aggressively on the meeting door now, so Aero are going to have really good intel, and they're going to really flush out Lusty. Lusty's going to have to try and use this C4 to his advantage. He doesn't quite get anything with that, so he's going to start getting a lot of pressure in meeting, and he is fragged out. That's really, really strong take from Aero. They have meeting room now, so this is really a lot of pressure on a Fnatic. Aero can do a really clean execute. They're just going to have to worry about that pressure below. Magnet is still roaming below.
Yeah, but he doesn't have that C4 as it's already been used. A lot of players from Aerowolf. You see Pulse below. He has eyes onto players, but he hasn't taken them out. And now Magnet himself is out. Aces knows he has to make a big play. He can't spray down the player on the plants, and now Luna trying to get this bomb diffuser on the floor. Ysera chases down the last few frags, and Aerowolf find themselves once again on the board.
A really, really great push from Aero. They took it so systematically. They flushed Fnatic out. And Aero had even more early opportunities than Fnatic did, and they weren't unable to capitalize on them. They really caught them off later, and I just really like the way Aero pushed that. It just really choked Fnatic, and Fnatic weren't able to play the game they wanted to. And
I just really like the way that Aerowolf can systematically deal with obstacles. They always have good information, and it comes down to this Montaigne play, I think, a huge component of it. They always fall back onto it when they're losing, and it works so well for them. So, for example, taking out that player inside of the meeting room, Aerowolf, they had Luna Metal in that doorway just peeking with that Montaigne shield, gaining all the information onto where Lusty was. There could stun grenades, could prevent Lusty from having too much movement, and then just the cherry on top of the cake was a frag grenade coming over from Hysterics as well. The perfect executions on the back of Aerowolf having really excellent information gathering, and also the fact that Luna Metal, simply his presence is a huge bully factor to Fnatic, and I think that comes down to the fact that Fnatic know that if you let Luna Metal get close to you and if you turn away from him for a split second, he has absolutely no gripes with dropping his shield and then dropping you.
There's something really unspoken about with Montaigne, and it's the unspoken pressure. So even if you have a Montaigne shield looking at you, it puts so much pressure on the person looking at him as well as the team, and actually you can create this almost pseudo tunnel vision. The team start thinking about, oh no, there's a Montaigne looking at us. How are we going to deal with this? And it stops them from thinking about what is happening elsewhere as well. So I think that's something that happened with Fnatic. Lusty was really pressured in that situation. They thought about how to counter the Montaigne, but Aero read into that and just were able to get all the frags.
And it's hard to blame Fnatic for worrying about the Montaigne when early in Visa, Luna Metal just solo pushed one player and got a headshot with the P9. Luna Metal is just such a good Montaigne player. He knows exactly how passive to play that he almost never dies when he's in a 1v1 with that. But he'll always find kills and he'll always keep the pressure on. And if playing passively is the requirement for not dying and he has to sacrifice not getting a kill, then he'll do that. But he also is very confident to actually take some of those fights with that pistol.
Speakeasy does tag Lusty quite low, and it's Lusty again playing his position on low HP. We will see Fnatic take this top 4 bomb site again. Speaking of how well Aero took it, we do see them taking a very similar approach early, and they have taken that HP advantage early. Admin is looking like it's where they want to push. It's looking almost like it's theirs. They're going to finish off droning it out to make sure they can. There is a player playing still quite close. It looks like it's that soda machine position. That mute jammer causing some issues, slowing them down a little bit, but Ysera is still just going to rappel straight on in. He feels very confident, and Speakeasy's covering the printer side for him, so he's not going to be pushed from that side. And that's a nice drone downstairs. They're aware that there's that position below. That frag grenade coming out, not doing too much damage to Rizraz, I believe it is, that's playing that below position. And Aero looking really strong here for the first half of this attack.
A lot of information as well, really good drones every step of the way. For Aerowolf, you see Hysterics, he's used 2 of his drones now to square out the position of Rizraz downstairs, likely playing with a C4, ready to deny this late plant. And speaking about Rizraz, you know, these mute jammers have done so much for delaying that information from Aerowolf, but the fact that they still have that Monty means that they're not too afraid to face check this, and they're still making pretty good time taking control of admin.
One thing Aero are going to have to be very, very careful of, and it's something that Fnatic do really often with a lot of bomb sites, but maps, but especially Consulate, in fact, is they like to do a late double roam and like a late double flank. I think that's something that Fnatic might try to do this time because all the pressure came from meeting. In fact, Rizraz gets an early frag now, a late frag, in fact, to Hysterics. That is the sledge taken out, so no more frag grenades from him if he had any in his pocket. There is still Ysera on the buck. They're trying to flush out this meeting position now. Lusty with the Legion just throwing as many goose as possible to deny that Montaigne pushing in. Rizraz with a nice shot onto Mentalist. That is the Thermite. And no, Ysera kills himself with the frag grenade. It's fallen apart for Aero here. 30 seconds to play.
Oh my god, Rizraz!
1v5. Luna all by himself as the Montaigne. I don't think how strong a player he is. A 1v5 as a Montaigne is very difficult with 20 seconds to go. Fnatic are just going to push straight on up. Virtue tags low by the smoke of his teammates, but Luna's just going to stay chill, and I don't think there's too much he can really do at this stage. And he's fragged out and finished off there. It's a nice strong round from Fnatic. Aero started strong, but Fnatic finished it off, and they will take it at 2-1.
speaking to the adaptations from Fnatic, I think the main primary one that's really notable was Lusty switching away from that mirror onto the Legion. And he kept all of the Legion mines in his pocket that were generating throughout the round and just used them on that doorway. Now, we saw Lunametal was very happy to just unpeak and play in a safe position and shoot the Legion mine, but it did take quite a lot of time away from Aerowolf. And, you know, more impactful than that in that round, however, was that roam from Rizraz, which really, I mean, I can't put too much on that. It's not like he was assisted by a large amount of utility. Yes, he had mute jammers, but for the most part, they were elsewhere. It was simply the fact that Aerowolf were pushing him only one player at a time, and Rizraz is such a strong player that you can't really allow him to be in that position because he will frag out.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that you highlighted there was Lusty playing that Legion. I think that was a really, really smart pick. And the way he played it as well, really smart, holding those goo mines in his pocket until the Montaigne was putting pressure on him. We will see Fnatic take the split bomb site. This is the new bomb site included to Consulate. It's something they like to play a lot of. Actually, they've played quite a lot of it every time they've played this map. So if Aero have done their studying, they know that this bomb site is probably coming out and potentially how Fnatic play it. We did see Cyclops able to counter it yesterday when they played Fnatic on this map. So if Aero have taken some notes, they could be able to counter it the same way, but Fnatic would have made some adaptations. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Fnatic set up here and how Aero decide to play that. One thing to note, Aero sticking that Montaigne pick. They really are falling into comfort with that Montaigne.
They are, and I think that's why we'll continually see Fnatic bring the Legion. I think that they've realized now sometimes it's not even worth, you know, even if you really want another operator, I think that they do have to just keep hitting that Legion, because at the very least it'll force Aerowolf to play more slowly to check for those Legion mines. And, you know, of course, Lunametal doesn't want to be caught with one of those in his foot because he'll have to drop his shield to pull it out. But as you mentioned, you know, Fnatic are well known on this bomb site, and I do trust in Aerowolf to have done that research and be aware of that. But, you know, how effective will their counters be, we'll have to see.
It was very close pre-fire there, almost onto the Pulse. The Pulse is getting this intel and Visa. He's aware that someone's trying to push those stairs. This is something that Aero have to be really careful about. They've played this Pulse a lot, Fnatic, and they're going to try and get this C4 pressure early just to stop Aero from taking man advantage into that execute. Ysera on that bark. He can put some vertical pressure onto this bomb site. We also see the sledge in the garage, so it's quite a split push at this stage from Aero. It's really interesting to see how they're trying to take this. I'd expect them to try and take from this garage side. We do see the Montaigne now pushing through there. They're going to try and push into that server area, and we see 3 Fnatic players down there at this stage.
Lunametal with the door open for him. He has a little bit more flexibility to peek on outside, but some good pre-opened holes in the wall just to his left, as well as that hatch, means that he'll have to be very cautious of several angles and won't have just as much freedom to gather this information. Aerowolf, as they try to encircle this downstairs portion of the bomb site, they'll have to be really, really cautious of the push from above from the Fnatic players, as this roam, which we have several players on the top floor currently, could really have an impact if they start to drop these hatches or come down these staircases and catch Aerowolf from behind.
I really like the position that Aces and Magnet were just playing there, just back-to-back, able to refrag each other, but also in really tight angles, so that if Aero tried to push around, they could get a cheeky frag or even refrag each other. So that's really well played. Ace is trying really hard to open his hatch and finally gets it open with that shotgun. It's another rotate that Aero going to have to worry about, and Luna is getting tagged very low with this Evil Eye. That must have been missed by the drones, or potentially not even checked if they're using Demontaine to face check. Hysterics will find Lusty. That is the alibi taken out. 50 seconds to go. Speakeasy gets another frag on the Virtue. That's the Legion. So yeah, we've got 45 seconds. A bit of an execute starting to get prepared here by Aero. That Evil Eye was taken out by that frag grenade. Magnet shot at but not tagged. He will tag the Capitao back. Not too much, and some pre-fires coming out. Magnet in a pretty strong position with a lot of bars to help him on this shelving unit. Luna on the Montaigne confidently just pushing him out of there. He says, you know what, Magnet, you can't play here. This is mine. Just pushes him straight out. Hysterics is going for this plant now. 20 seconds to go. Aces will tag Mentalist, but Speakeasy trades straight back to Rizraz. 4v2 with plant down on the top floor bomb site. So it's going to be hard for Fnatic to have to rotate back up and retake this bomb site now, as Aero has some really strong rotates, and this Montaigne just blocking these stairs. Unfortunate communication there, as the Montaigne wasn't calling it out quick enough for the Capitao. And it's a nice team play to take out the Montaigne. So now it's a 2v2. The Aero players both on strong HP. Hysterics gets a frag on the Aces. 2v1, Magnet by himself as the older operator. What can he do here? He sees Diffuser. Just some strong positions from the attackers. He's going to have to try and stick this. Aero are aware, and they get Magnet. That's a strong round from Aero. Well played.
Very well played. The thing that really struck me for Aerowolf that round is, yes, they spent a huge amount of time in the round focusing on that downstairs area, but when it came down to it and there were still players downstairs, they decided, okay, actually we can take the top floor bomb site. And that required quite a lot of work because they had to clear out admin and all these kinds of things that would have required a huge amount of investment early into the round to actually obtain. But because they've played fairly slowly and they waited for Fnatic to start executing these flanks, they really telegraphed to Fnatic, look, we're pushing downstairs. And so Fnatic started dedicating more resources down there. Aerowolf started whittling away at what Fnatic had available in terms of the man count, and then planted on the top floor with very, very good coverage to deny that C4.
It was actually a really smart play. I don't think Fnatic really had too much of an idea that that's where the plant was going down. As you said, they baited it. They were doing this execute onto server. The Fnatic players rotated down, and then it's hard to get back up when the push was coming from server. Yeah, I really liked that play from Aero. Beautifully played. 2-all here. We're seeing such a close game, and Fnatic are going to go back to this garage bomb site. They have stuck this bandit pick. It's the same operator lineup we saw last time, which was quite successful for them on the back of some aggressive plays.
And to me, actually, one of the things I'd point out is I don't think that the bandit from Magnet is having, look, as much of an impact in terms of just the operator utility itself. I think Magnet would be much more at home on a Valkyrie. But Aerowolf banned that out. And I was actually thinking, you know, I was thinking to myself, look, Aerowolf really should have banned out the Pulse because every single bomb site, the Pulse is doing so much work for Fnatic. But I think banning the Valkyrie is actually even more impactful. We're not actually even seeing, you know, how useful the Valkyrie would be because Fnatic are a little bit lost without it. And I think that without Magnet having that flexibility to go on to that operator, Fnatic are just at somewhat of a loss.
Yeah, I think banning the Valk was definitely a good decision. The Pulse has been a big play for Fnatic, but there's one thing about Pulse's intel, and that's that it's a pretty static play. That player has to be on that camera and looking in that position. They can't be in a remote place.
And fairly exposed, right?
That's right. So it's pretty easy to counter. If you've got some good droning and some good teamwork, you can counter that Pulse relatively easily. We identified on that first round that Aero just potentially had the wrong order of operations when they tried to take this bomb site. So if they do things correctly this time, I think it'll work in their favor. We do see Virtue playing that server position again on the Pulse. Yeah. So pretty similar hold. So it's just, it depends how Aero's read it and how they can adapt.
I really do think that this Fnatic defense is very predictable at this point. And they seem to play it very similarly every single time. And I think that, you know, Aerowolf just needs to figure out the counter to it. You know, they just need to take the top floor and then clear out those roamers and then prevent that flank and then focus on their side execute, because I don't think Fnatic will have a lot to deal with if that's what Aerowolf brings to the table.
Yeah, and we see a lot of pressure coming onto these roamers. The C4 going up, and Rizraz will land that. Speakeasy off camera has taken out Lusty, so those Goo Mines are going to be ineffective against the Montaigne. Rizraz will piece out of the top floor, and an effective roam, in fact, from Fnatic. They've ended up with equal man advantage and half the round burnt, so nicely played by them. Aero are going to have to start thinking about how they're going to execute on the bomb side, and Rizraz is rotated down into this strong position in the public bathroom. That hatch is reinforced though, so he will be trapped there if Aero get crossfires onto his position. We see Virtue still playing over in that archives area, just getting more intel, or lack of at this stage, but you can tell your team, hey, I'm not getting signatures here, they're not on this side. They're going to be pushing Garage. The Montaigne is trying to push down yellow stairs, so we are probably going to see Garage execute.
Yeah, and I believe that's a thermite charge opening up that exterior garage. 50 seconds, look, it's not a ton of time, but I think Aerowolf do have enough to get the job done. But now that Virtue is rotated into garage alongside Magnet, that's 2 C4s that they'll happily use to deny this plan if push comes to shove. No smoke means that... Oh, what? How does that happen? That was a fantastic bait from Fnatic to get Lunametal to turn away, and Fnatic have dealt with that Montaigne. Aerowolf really lacking that teeth that they've been relying on this game. And look, only 3 players left. It's a desperate attempt now with the smokes deployed. But Aerowolf do have to push in and start to take it above. But Rizraz as well, his top floor is taken down. That's the roam clear, doing pretty well. A bit late, but Aerowolf, they'll have to blitz on through the spiral stairs. And Aces is watching, but not for a second. It is the late push in, but Virtue assisting. Just Asterix left, but there's really nothing he can do. And Fnatic win on time.
Well played again by the defense there. Roam, although we said it's predictable, it's strong, and Fnatic play it very well. And it was well held out, and it was on the back of Rizraz getting this insane C4 onto the skylight. I think without that C4, you could have called that roam a bit of a fail, and it actually worked out so well played by Riz.
Rizraz is just doing so much work on that mute roam. He's just a very confident player on that SMG 11. He's just very proficient with that in his hands. And if you give him the freedom to roam around, you give him a little bit of utility to work with and the SMG11, you know, he'll take that and give you a mile.
Rizraz betting a cheeky little chenka there, but he's actually going to go to the cap can. It's going to be the top 4 bomb site again for Fnatic, which we saw them hold twice. One loss, one win. So it depends how they adapt here. The cap can is different to last time, so that will probably hinder the Montaigne a little bit. He could tank a few of those for his team, but I think Aero's just going to have to be very careful here about how they take this. No mirror this time, which is interesting.
Yeah, so they dropped the mirror previously for the Legion, and now they've dropped something for the Capcan as well. Was it the, I'm not sure, maybe the Pulse, I think. No, there was the Mute, actually. He was roaming downstairs. He got a 4K. So I think maybe the fact that, you know, we've got that Capcan instead of the Mute is Fnatic identifying, look, the Mute didn't actually have that much of an effect inside of admin, and Maybe Fnatic is expecting that Aerowolf will actually try and clear Rizraz properly this time, and deploying those Capcan charges will make that more difficult. Yeah,
I think you're right there, Dev. And Aero, a relatively unchanged lineup again for this push. Still sticking this Montaigne. It's worked really well for them, so I don't see why they would change. 2 frag grenade operators, which have done quite a lot of damage to Fnatic so far with their attacks. And Aero are going to be wanting to close this out 3-3 to go into the second half with even Stevens there. And we're looking at this forest here. It's beautiful. And Rizraz on the Capcan, he's on the roam, in fact. So he's just going to delay that push into the front lobby from Hysterics on the sledge. Aero just kind of surround the bomb site when they're trying to take this, and they really don't indicate where they're pushing until a little bit later. It's really good that they're not just fully throwing everybody straight into admin or everybody on the CE windows. It really means that Fnatic have to try and read what's happening.
Yeah, and look, this top 4 take, it's been mixed bag for Aerowolf. Look, we've seen some good ones, but we've also seen a bit of a struggle when it comes to dealing with that roamer below, and so far we haven't really seen that to be a focus. Of course, Rizraz playing Capcan, he does have the option for a C4, but nonetheless, the first pick is not in fact the roamer, but Virtue himself. Speakeasy on a repel will deal with that one. I believe that was in fact from a repel on Spiral. Yeah, it looks like it was a repel on Spiral, took out that kill, and Speakeasy will continue the repel game onto the A balcony windows.
Yeah, this will really start to put pressure onto that person playing in the meeting, which is likely Lusty with the Legion again with those goo mines. If they can take out Lusty with all those goo mines in his pocket as he did last time, it will really make it a lot more comfortable for that Montaigne to push in. So it looks like that Aero might be prioritizing that.
That was Sledge shotgun. I'm not kidding. Hysterics bringing the shotgun on Sledge? Okay, well, let's hope he can do some good work with the SMG11. I do wonder if there's an actual... Is there a strat behind that, or is that an error? Surely
he could use it for destroying the floor below, or even...
Yeah, oh my god, he's playing vertically. This is legit. He's just being Buck 2.0. I love this right now. I don't think I've ever seen this in a comp game.
Yeah, it's a really good decision, actually, and it's something that they've obviously identified they needed to do more, is that vertical pressure. They really want to be able to flush out this meeting position. This frag grenade is going to be devastating. He hasn't cooked it properly, though. And unfortunately, they could have definitely got that frag, and that second one's better, but Lusty repositioned, so a missed opportunity there from Aero. Mentalist has been tagged quite low, and Lunametal eating up some of that smoke. Here we start to see some goo mines coming out from Lusty. Lusty will peek out and tag Luna very low, and he knows it. He's going to take it with the impact. Speakeasy does trade out on Magnet, though. It's a 4v3. Rizraz with a frag onto Ysera. 30 seconds to go. Aero, it's a nice shot from Speakeasy. 3v2 in favor of Aero here. 20 seconds to go. Hysterics is starting his flank up the Spiral, but there's somebody at the top, and they're aware. And Hysterics is not, so Rizraz will get that frag. 2v2. Speakeasy gets the favor towards Aero. We have 10 seconds to go. Aero gonna have to do something. Rizraz with Diffuser. The Hibana doesn't realize, and Hibana's fragged out. 6 seconds. Aero just gonna have to push. Rizraz is gonna stay very, very patient here. And unfortunately, Fnatic with a beautiful clutch there. Well played by Rizraz. And Aero, they played so well early, and unfortunately they just couldn't get the diffuser down.
That was an excellent play from Rizraz in the late game. Aerowolf had so much going for them, but at the end of the day, the inability to push out the Legion really was the bane of Aerowolf, and losing that Montaigne was an absolute linchpin. Allowed Fnatic to turn the round on its head, but despite losing that Montaigne, Aerowolf were still in the advantage, except for the fact that they didn't have the diffuser. So it really came down to, at the end of the day, Rizraz making a strong individual play, essentially a 1 versus 3 there, that he managed to clutch out.
Yeah, and it really comes back to that missed grenade. If that grenade was cooked perfectly the first time, they would have got that Legion. It would have been a very different play of taking meetings. So unfortunate from Aero, but strong.
Yesterday against Cyclops Athlete Gaming, but Now it's a chance for Aerowolf to shine as we transition back into this game. It's Aerowolf kicking off their defensive half with the top floor.
Yeah, and we're going to see a Pulse pick again from Aero. Pulse being heavily played on this map today. The Maestro as well for the intel. I really like that Speakeasy is about to put that in the long hallway. It's a really commonly contested spot, and sometimes based on the way he plays shields and ADSs, it can be hard to clear the Maestros from there, so that's nicely done from him. Fnatic, on the other hand, they are bringing a Jackal, something they like to bring for the smokes, as well as to help clear the roam and get the footsteps. Magnet on a classic buck.
Yeah, it's actually really funny. We're seeing a ton of similarity between the way that both of these teams run their attacking roster onto this site. So, for example, Fnatic, 2 sets of grenades, Buck and Sledge. We saw the exact same thing from Aerowolf. In fact, we saw a Sledge running shotgun so that he could open up some holes in the floor from below and then use the SMG-11 as a primary, something that I personally have never ever seen in a Pro League game before.
Yeah, and here we go. Yasera is in the archives room on Pulse. He's getting some intel into Visa. We see a lot of Fnatic pushing from this side, and yeah, it's a very classic position for the Pulse here. Magnet is just a little bit cautious. Perhaps they know that the Pulse is below already. He's opened that hatch just to put that pressure, and he's just going to leave. Virtue, on the other hand, pushing from the garage at the moment as this Sledge. He pushes straight in, and this is looking quite aggressive and confident early from Fnatic, something we saw from them on the first map.
Oh, my. Oh, no. Virtue surely gets that free kill against Yasera. A bit of an overextension from the Pulse, likely feeling that pressure from the opening of the Visa hatches, and well, that's a big early punishment for one of the big components of the Aerowolf defense. But Lunametal evens it up with a very strong run out onto Magnet, so IGL for Fnatic will have to just sit on the sidelines. Actually not a bad position to be in, really, as an IGL.
For sure, you have the access to all the drones, and you can kind of see what your teammates are doing, so it's nice to be able to do that when you're the IGL. It was a good aggressive run out from Luna onto that balcony, and it's something that Aero will need to do. They will need to get into Fnatic's face and stop them from playing that confident aggression they were on Coastline. That was really shredding them, and Aero, it's good. They look like they've learned from that, and they're matching it so far. We're almost halfway through the round, and Fnatic are having some issues trying to attack this bomb site so far. Has been generally stalled out. Lusty is getting some footprints onto the Jaeger, who he will see that it is on the bomb site right now. Yeah,
but the big thing for me about that pick onto Fnatic is the fact that it is the Buck. And look, I'm going to take a bet that it's Virtue's not running that shotgun, so he doesn't have the ability. And in fact, Fnatic as a whole have very limited ability to open those vertical holes. They still have, say, the Jackal, but it's just not very much. Lunametal, on the other hand, he's playing aggressively inside of Bathroom. A flashbang will prevent him from denying those Hibana pellets, and that's a good pick from Rizraz. Fnatic as a whole doing some good work, but Aerowolf always ready on these trades now, as only 1 minute is remaining. Aerowolf very, very low on HP.
Riz has been downed as well, so I'm not too sure whether Fnatic are going to be able to get in and recover him. Lusty is trying to push up, but Aero probably just baiting it at this stage. Oh, it's a nice shot from Lusty, but not taking anything, and Riz will be picked up. Virtue does get a frag on a Hysterics, and Mentalist has been tagged low, so big advantage here for Fnatic with the last 30 seconds to be played out. Riz at the top of yellow, low on HP as he steps on a goo mine. They will start to surround that site, so we will see probably an execute happening in the CEO. Aces is repelled on that window with Diffuser. He will try to get in and get that plant down, but 15 seconds. Speakeasy with a nice shot through the wall. 2v3. We're going to have to see something happening here from Fnatic, and he could catch this window. He doesn't. Aces is in. He is getting plant down. Speakeasy just needs to get the shots off. It's being pinged. He knows where it is. He's denied. It's a 1v1, 0 seconds, and defenders will take the round. Really well played from Aero. It got hairy there with Speakeasy. He was being pinged. He walked right next to him very carefully, and a lot of emotion coming out in support here for Aero. Really well played for them on defense.
That was really, really well played from Speakeasy. Very difficult, and just a slight oversight from the Fnatic player on the window, not watching the smoke and seeing if someone would push through there. But that's the problem with playing that position on the window in the scenario where Fnatic found themselves. There were so many angles to hold, and you're so careful about, okay, we just have to worry about, get this plant down, then we've essentially won the round. But, 1 second more, and Speakeasy wouldn't have been able to have that much of an impact. But just denying that diffuser made such a difference for his team, and, well, Aerowolf now really looking strong to kick off their defensive half.
Yeah, they're only 1 round behind now, and that round looked really strong for them. They played it really well. Fnatic was stalled out quite a bit, and at the end they had to repel him through the windows with 10 seconds to go, and that's never an easy thing to do. Wow, so really well played from Aero.
I mean, just looking at the scoreboard for a second on the Aerowolf side, Speakeasy is the newest player, and he's really stepped up. And I mean, originally Ewok told me that Speakeasy had really moved into this kind of aggressive fragging role, you know, on entries, but Speakeasy's been playing, you know, a maestro, not a fragging operator, despite the fact that he has the ability to, you know, pull off some strong kills. But, you know, on the flip side of that, Mentalist, who I was saying is a highlight player for me personally, he's sitting on the bottom. So Aerowolf, the thing that fills me with confidence about this is that they're happy to pick up the slack when one or another player isn't quite feeling it. And on the Fnatic side, it is consistently Rizraz.
That's true. And speaking of Rizraz, actually, I just noticed that he lost his Twitch drone in prep phase, so he will only have one left for the rest of the round. Aero did bait a 6-pick off a Kayed. I think they were trying to make Fnatic think that they're going to go Garage, because you would use the Kayed traditionally on that bomb site, and they ended up 6-picking to an Alibi, which is something you know I'm not really a big fan of, but it's probably going to work for Aero. I think Aero as a kind of team, just like Xavier, they have that adaptability to pick some of these unusual operators and use it to their advantage in the way they adapt to how teams are pushing.
And I think one of the things that I'd mentioned, in my opinion, that Aerowolf need to do is they need to bring something a little bit a little bit unpredictable for Fnatic, and I think that's exactly what the Alibi is. You know, prevent some of these wall bangs by having Alibi devices, you know, transitioned around. Go for this free roam with some utility to assist, and that looks to be exactly what Aerowolf have prepared for us.
Yeah, we are seeing Fnatic looking like they're favoring the admin push. Virtue has pushed in and taken top of site, as well as Rizraz. That puts a lot of pressure onto that Teller's bomb site, which we were seeing Ysera playing in before as the Legion. Rizraz already onto these stairs. They're aware somebody else is upstairs, but he's not going to try and push for that frag at this stage. Speakeasy's rotating up from the Visa stairs. Ysera will get Rizraz, so that's a nice pick there with half the round almost played out. And Aerowolf have a pretty strong position at this stage.
And, I mean, Rizraz, he's a guy on 11 frags right now, and he's off the board. And I really feel like Fnatic has so much teeth when Rizraz is up and a little bit lackluster when he's down. Something about the way that this team is functioning is just not enabling the rest of the players to frag. I don't know whether it's the players themselves or just the play style of the team right now, but something's got to change. And with Rizraz on cams, I don't think they'll have the same impact that they really need.
Yeah, and Fnatic are going to have to really decide what they're going to do here, because they haven't really made too much meaningful progress towards bomb site. They do have this control above Tellers, so perhaps that's what they're going to try and favor. Some ADSs, they're catching those stun grenades. They're now burnt by Aces. He has no more stun grenades left. There is one person playing the Tellers, but there's still a lot of control downstairs. Fnatic need to start putting some more pressure onto these defenders and perhaps getting a pick if they're going to have a chance of getting this execute down.
Still, that's good control of the Visa office, and that allows Fnatic to start taking into the bomb site. But is there denial from below? It's a very good position for Fnatic now, taking out a lot of these players. Virtue with a 2K on the L85. Hysterics and Mentalist both on the ground, as is the Diffuser. Just 2 players for Aerowolf. No vertical denial available, and this will require Speakeasy to push up, but this could well be a near flawless round. I highlighted that Rizraz was the key, but the rest of Fnatic will step up and do what's needed.
A beautiful round from Virtue there. I think he played Spiral for most of those, managed to get almost all 3 picks from there. He just played that so patiently, and they just kept walking into him. He just held a beautiful angle, secured the plant for Aces, and yeah, really well played from Fnatic. A good attack.
Just 2 rounds away as well from potentially closing out this game, whereas it's a bit more of a road ahead for Aerowolf. We've seen they've had some good momentum, but the rounds are few and far between on Consulate here, and as their second defense of Tellers, I mean, the second defense going to Tellers not working out, I expect they really will try to prefer Garage and Console office, but they really need to start nailing some Garage defenses, otherwise this win is going to slip away within the blink of an eye. Yeah,
and we see the reverse 6-pick happening here. They initially selected the Alibi, and now they've 6-picked onto the Kayed, and they are taking Garage. So yeah, I think this is going to be really strong. Lusty opting to switch from the Capital to the Dokkaebi. That's a curious choice.
Well, the thing for me about the Dokkaebi is the fact that we've seen how much mobility that Aerowolf are relying on this roam, and I think that Dokkaebi call will assist in starting to isolate some of these defenders. The thing about, you know, Dokkaebi versus Jackal, for example, if you're trying to find some kind of utility to hunt your roamers, is the Jackal is specific to one operator. You Jackal track one operator, and in fact, the defenders can bait you around that person that you're tracking, whereas Dokkaebi, no, it affects all of them with the exception of anyone standing inside of a mute jammer, which is in fact present in this round. So I think that's just something to take into account for both Fnatic and Aerowolf in the interactions between these operators and how Fnatic will try to deal with any roaming presence that Aerowolf tries to establish.
Yeah, and those mute jammers are going to be an absolute pain without the Thatcher up because of the ban. So it's going to be a lot of emphasis on Rizraz to be able to get Twitch drones into position. And sometimes with the way those mute jammers are placed, you can't get your drone there. So that could be a real hindrance in the way that the intel's collected for Fnatic and how they formulate their push. They are quite split up with their spawns at this stage. I would expect them to try and get Garage open just to put some early pressure onto the defense. Riz is droning in to take out some of these defaults with his Twitch drone. He will have to try and get some of these mute jammers, otherwise it's going to be really uphill battle for Aero. He does get a cheeky hit onto the Maestro and gets his drone out of there alive.
That's surprising, you know, the fact that Speakeasy was unable to take out the drone, but nonetheless, that really telegraphs to Fnatic that Aerowolf are very prepared for this roaming retake. It's something very familiar to Fnatic, as it's very similar to how they go for these defenses. And, you know, Aerowolf, perhaps now that that's been keyed into by Fnatic, will struggle a little bit more as they attempt that flexible run.
Yeah, we see Virtue here on that admin position again. He's going to hold these Visa stairs just to make sure the flanks aren't coming up. It's a really strong way to hold that rotate instead of just standing at the top of the stairs. You can get some really nice top angles that are really difficult to see as a defender because of the way the bars are dispersed. See Lusty holding a nice angle there from the chamber just onto those yellow stairs. So Fnatic doing a really good job of cutting these rotates, and Aero are all on site. So it's going to be really difficult for them to execute some kind of flank if that's what they wish to do.
Yeah, you can see Fnatic very wary of that. Wow, this is 3 floors of contest from Hysterics, and Aerowolf still just playing passively on site, and I think that's a key at the moment. Fnatic are very wary of this flank, but Aerowolf are just playing static at the moment, preventing these hard breaching using those mute jammers, and Fnatic obviously only have that Hibana. So without that kind of progress and without those holes open on the Garage, Fnatic are really relying on picks for this to happen, and sooner rather than later, they'll have to take some initiative and start entering. Yeah,
I dare say this is going to have to get really aggressive because they've still got the Kaed here that can use to deny this wall. It's really easy to Kaed trick Hibana charges. So he's going to be able to do this if he throws it quick enough. I think he might have missed it.
He missed it.
Yeah, he did miss it. So that will open up. That's unfortunate for Aero. That would have been a very strong position for them. It now favors Fnatic because they can get an execute off much easier, and they're really opening this floor, so it's going to be really hard to hold this Garage. This is going to get very chaotic now with 36 seconds to go. Luna with a nice C4 onto Rizraz. That's the top fragger off. Mentalist taking out Lusty. This is a great spot for Aero now with a 5v3 as Fnatic are going to prepare for an execute.
Oh, that's a good dodge of that grenade, and Ysera also doing some good work. Just 2 players left for Fnatic, whereas 5 still up for Aerowolf. There's just not enough numbers to make an entrance onto the bomb site, and Rizraz taken down. Virtue's the last man standing. It'll need to be an ace clutch for the Sledge player. He's done a lot of good work so far. Best rated player at the Invitational, but that's just not enough in this scenario, and we'll be heading to a 4-5 scoreline for Aerowolf.
He couldn't even steal that kill, and what a nice round from Aero. It was looking really strong for Fnatic once they got that Garage wall open. They still had quite a bit of time for that execute, but Aero just shut them out with their frags. They just got 2 or 3 really quick, and all of a sudden it was grim for Fnatic. So really well played by Aero, adapted so well, and we're going to see an even closer scoreline again.
Yeah, I mean, it is getting very close here, but if we see Aerowolf still able to successfully defend the console office, the top floor, and that Garage a second time as they now head to console, then they'll likely head to Tellers if they are successful there. And whether win or lose Tellers, they can go Garage again. As long as they can win Garage and console one more time, we're going to overtime. Or if they can win Tellers as well, that's a map victory without even overtime.
Yeah, I'm sure they're chasing that dub.
Yeah.
We are seeing them take top floor here, as you were saying. So they're taking off the Pulse for the smoke. That's an interesting choice because the Pulse was some good intel for them. They like to play that below that C4 potential as well. Now they're playing it for the denial. You think they're just going to try and slow down Fnatic's push and on those windows potentially?
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, it also gives a little bit more of the destruction capabilities. So if they perhaps wanted to open up more floors, then that would be available to them. We don't see a ton of that, but you know, opening up the floor is a way that you can have a vertical impact without actually having as much information directly from, say, a Pulse, because you can actually see through the floor, you can hear through the floor, and you can assess the situation based on that. But I think that another way that we'll often see the smoke used is just hard holding onto those yellow stairs. You and I were talking about how Magnet does that from Fnatic on this bomb site very typically, and how we've also seen Joey from August do the same. And it's a very effective strategy very commonly with that smoke on the yellow stairs. And look, I think that holding down to that control for a lot longer could very well work against Fnatic.
Yeah, and I really like how Speakeasy's made a lot of those hit holes so he can look at the windows. He didn't actually utilize them last time as Aces tried to repel in, but he was smoked out. Lusty on the smokes again, but he's taking the Capital instead of the Jackal this time. Potentially going to utilize those firebolts just to reduce the ability for Aero to be able to rush that plant like they did last time as it worked out for them. So we're going to see Fnatic here with a pretty split spawn. Not really clear how they decided to push at this stage. They're just getting some early intel. Rizraz trying to get as much utility as possible with this Twitch drone early. He's being very cautious in case of mute jam, as he doesn't want to lose one of those Twitch drones to a mute jammer.
Yeah, and we're seeing mute very consistently picked by Aerowolf as well as the Twitch consistently for Rizraz. I think it comes down to the significant fragging capability plus a little bit more activity he can do using the drone. But, you know, more broadly talking about the Aerowolf defense so far, I think we've seen some very strong play from, say, Mentalist inside of the projector room, and he has that C4 as well as the shotgun, which are both very useful in that position. A C4 could potentially clear that A balcony, and of course his shotgun can help prepare from an attack from the Visa side, but it looks like Fnatic attempting to dismantle this. Oh no, Lusty
the timing.
Missed that opportunity, and the smoke's still allowed to stay alive on the yellow stairs. A frag grenade won't be enough, and Fnatic trying to figure out a way to dismantle this. They have a lot of area denial utility, even the stun grenades coming to assist, but just nothing yet, and you can see that's several of the incendiary bolts out and all of the grenades as well.
So much utility used to try and get this guy in yellow stairs, and he hasn't even lost an ounce of HP. That's unreal that he's been able to dance around all of that utility. Almost down to a minute left in the round, and Fnatic are really struggling to put much pressure onto the defense other than that yellow stairs, and even then, as I said, no HP down, so they're going to have to start pushing these windows if that's where they want to get the plant down, which is what it's looking like. It's going to be the windows plant again. Ace is really wanting to take this bathroom position, but he can't get the charges on, and it's a really critical line of sight, and Aero just denying Fnatic at all points at this stage.
Yeah, it's so much work being done by the Smoke Ysera on yellow stairs. Honestly, I think he's doing all the work right here. And look at that, even an impact grenade used to deny those Hibana pellets. Absolutely nothing given to Fnatic by Aerowolf right now. So they will resort to just forcing their way up an unfavorable position. That barbed wire tells Ysera there's a player pushing up, and he'll peek with the SMG-11. Very favorable in this position, and that's perfect against Magnet. Ysera expecting another player, but they're not coming from that direction. Just 15 seconds remaining. This will have to be an absolute mayhem moment on the bomb side as Rizraz finds one. Lots of frags to Fnatic, but still not enough. 3 versus 3, almost no time remaining. Ysera continuing the storm, but there's refrags every single step of the way. Just Virtue left alive. He'll try the plant, but no way this will work. That's a very long plant time. Hysterics denies it, and we have Fnatic and Aerowolf equalized on points.
Oh, the emotion, Dev. Can you hear the crowd? It's so loud. Aero is so pumped. This is an insane match, and we're tied at 5-5. The winner of this next round will have the opportunity of match point, and at that, it's Milan point and US major point. That's huge.
There is so much on the line here in this match. I mean, as you said, you know, this isn't just one event that you're qualifying for. I mean, so typically we see, you know, teams represented at multiple global finals, and for Aerowolf, that just hasn't been the case ever. You know, they've played one global event ever. It was before we had a Pro League. It was Invitational 2017, and they're a very different team back then. But some of these players still have memories of heading to Canada, and I'm sure that they want to head to Italy.
Yeah, and one thing interesting here, we talked about the bomb sites they would have to win if they want to take the W. We talked about the Teller's bomb site. They've opted not to play the Teller's bomb site. In fact, they've chosen the lobby press room, which they haven't played yet. So they're trying to throw Fnatic off. This is, again, Aero and their adaptability to be able to play a lot of different scenarios with different operators. And this could really throw Fnatic off. I'm sure Fnatic were preparing for that Teller's hold. And they've got a castle as well, which is probably going to slow down that roam clear. Again, everything pointing towards slowing Fnatic down as much as possible. It really favors that chaotic execute, and Aero have been shutting that out when it happens.
And this is 110% the right choice here for Aerowolf. In the finals of the Six Oceanic Cup, which was Auglis versus Fnatic, we saw Auglis, in particular Diesel, have a really good presence on this bomb site, preventing any kind of plant, and Fnatic's inability to really completely clear out the top floor and deny the defenders from retaking projector room and hence having angles onto the bomb site and the default bomb plants. Fnatic weren't good enough at it, and I think that that's something that I really hope that they've gone back to the drawing board and fixed some of these issues. Instead of just sending, say, one player upstairs, they make sure that they send a second one and they fully clear it out, make sure that they have whatever utility in terms of claymores needed to prevent those flanks. Otherwise, I can definitely see Aerowolf Aerowolf stealing away with the lead here on this unpredictable bomb site.
Yeah, and Fnatic are going to try and take from this admin floor across. They're going to need to get some top floor control so they can get pressure onto the bomb site. Often teams will take meeting control. It's one of the most critical points of taking this, or CEO if you wish to plant piano. So Fnatic here just trying to take from admin across, which is the safest way to get into the building at least. And we'll see how they go with that roam clear.
Just 1 minute in so far. Always very similar operators for Fnatic. Still just Rizraz clearing himself, droning himself in. This time he's going to head in alongside Virtue, who can very easily clear out these castle barricades. Nice piece of utility there utilized by Fnatic. And now moving on, as you said, into the projector room. That'll be the next priority for Fnatic, taking control of that full top floor with the Aerowolf players residing inside of CEO and nearby that connector, and already using gas grenades. That's actually a good move in my opinion. It allows Lunar Metal to now rotate inside of the meeting room, but he'll drop downstairs as well, all the way back onto the default bomb side. Now he's opened up a hatch that'll assist his teammates and allow them to potentially to use a late C4 through the floor. That'll be Ysera likely to find that one. You can throw that into many of the default plant spots. And Aerowolf overall just staying alive and setting up really well for this plant denial in the late round.
I really like what Mentalist did there. He used that smoke grenade early and it's really just stalled out Fnatic. Look at this, there's almost a minute to go and Fnatic are really struggling to put pressure on Aero. Riz, the only one really tagged out. Speakeasy a little bit, but it's going to end up being another one of those chaotic executes for Fnatic, which I said earlier will favor Aerowolf. So again, it's a really great read from Aero, the way they've set it up. Magnet will trade onto Speakeasy and Luna straight back. Virtue with a big push. That's a 3v4 advantage to Fnatic now. It's all changed. Aero with some advantage, but that's swung into favor of Fnatic. Ysera might get the frag on the Virtue here. Oh, what a flick from Virtue! That's a 2v4 now in favor of Fnatic. We will see 30 seconds left on the clock. It's going to have to be an absolute shutout here, and Fnatic is starting to surround side. Aces with the frag. 1v4. Fnatic looking to go to match point. Mentalist takes out Virtue. 24 seconds to go. The plant has not gone down yet. So Mentalist does have some time to position himself. Ace is only just repelling into Piano. He's actually isolated. This is a chance for Mentalist. They're starting to surround it. They're aware of where the plant is, but Rizraz with a nice frag. Well played by Fnatic, and here they move to match point.
This round was essential for Fnatic. They know that they'll have to go and attack the garage, which they really struggled with in the next round. And if they lost this one and then they lose garage, that's game over. So they've got that one on the board. They've retaken the lead, feeling a little bit more comfortable right now, but they're still on the tip of the spear, and Aerowolf back onto a bomb site where they feel most comfortable.
That's right, Dev, and this is we can't overstate the amount of criticalness of this round. Like, Fnatic are on Milan point, US major point. Aero just trying to save it so they can get to overtime, so they can get back to that opportunity. It was such a strong round from Fnatic at the end of the day there, and Aerowolf are going to take attack pause. They are going to try and take this opportunity to break some momentum and talk to each other and try and figure out what they need to do on this garage hold. They did hold it quite well last time. Fnatic didn't have much of an opportunity to get the wall open, but it was late, and they stalled them out very well. If Aero can do the same, we will see overtime.
My question right here is, are Fnatic feeling the pressure right now, or are they tasting Milan? That's my question. And like, where is the mental game for Fnatic? Because I think if they're cool, calm, and collected, and they're ready to just send themselves over to Italy, then this could be the round to end it all. But with a tactical pause, I think that this is exactly what Aerowolf need to get back into the game. Everything comes down to this round for Aerowolf, either where this is GG and Fnatic are going to the finals, or Aerowolf are making us into overtime. And I really think that, I mean, overtime is certainly on the cards. It's what I think is most likely right now, just because of the way that Aerowolf have consistently held garage. But Fnatic, they're riding that wave of enthusiasm after that previous round win. It's been a while since they won a round, so that really broke the trend. But they'll have to continue it if they want to lock it out here without heading to OT.
Yeah, and we see them go with the double hard breach option because they know they're going to have to take this garage. So this is where the counter strats from Aero are going to have to be really critical. The fact that Fnatic have, they knew that they were going to take garage. So Fnatic have heavily prepared on how they're going to take this bomb site. Aero have to try and read into what Fnatic might do, and they have to figure out a counter. And in fact, they're using the mute as the wall denial. That's what they've gone with. And they're also going to play a mirror in the bathroom, it looks like.
Yeah, actually really surprising to me that Aerowolf have foregone the Kaid. Or the Bandit, for that matter. But I really think that, you know, the Kaid was the strategy with the Kaid was to use it to try and trick the Hibanas, but in this case, Fnatic now brought the hard breach, so maybe Aerowolf have read into the fact that Fnatic will bring double hard breach, in which case that's a really good read from Fnatic, and they'll get more out of this mirror instead. As you mentioned, that's probably going to be a mirror inside of this public bathroom. There you can see it right there. It's an old strategy. I haven't seen a ton of it recently, but you know it can be very powerful. But there's also been a lot of time for Fnatic.
You know what, Dev?
What?
We're seeing the garage mirror.
My.
This is a very risky play. Something we've seen a few European teams do, and it's a risk reward. Sometimes you can get some insane picks, and it works out really well, and sometimes it ends up an egg in your face. So have to see how Fnatic can read it and how it ends up playing out here. Hysterix is playing heavy at this mirror because he doesn't want to get picked off, and Fnatic potentially haven't droned this out yet. It doesn't look like there's any drones out on that garage side. There's one player over there, but the rest of Fnatic actually not over that side. Are we seeing rear push from Fnatic?
This may in fact be the case, but I think at the moment it's just the roam clear. But talking about that garage for just another moment, the Thatcher is banned by Aerowolf, which means that Fnatic, even if they want to Hibana open that mirror, they need to clear out the mute jammers, which is going to be very difficult without a Thatcher. But so far, it's just focusing on the roam clear at the moment. Obviously, we talked about the second mirror window being in that bathroom, which means that Fnatic will find it very difficult to take control of Piano when the roam clear finally gets to there. But I don't believe before that happens, they'll find any contest upstairs, which for Aerowolf is the right choice.
So far, so good for Aero. Nobody lost on the roam, and Fnatic almost using half the round to start pushing onto site here. Aero will have to try and do a little bit more than that to prevent Fnatic from a nice execute. Ysera is aware of position upstairs, and they're trying to get an angle into public bathroom. That is a nice angle that I haven't seen used very often at all. Ysera a bit under siege here in the bathroom. Fnatic need to get Ysera out of there. That is a strong position, and if Fnatic aren't able to do that, it's going to be very hard for them to get this execute. He is getting absolutely pinched right here. And attackers everywhere. Mentalist also concussed on site. They're trying to delay this push down yellow because that mirror is still there, and if they push the yellow, then they might not be able to reinforce that soft wall.
And Ysera is just dancing with death. He decides to go downstairs, but that's 2 minutes wasted, and still Aerowolf have the full manpower. It'll also be very difficult for Fnatic to open up the garage. They'll at very least have to use an Ash charge to clear open the soft wall, and then some Hibana pellets, and in conjunction with destroying the mute jammers to open up the rest of the wall for more visibility. But I don't think that's on the cards for Fnatic, especially as time continues to whittle down. Luna still as well on the pulse. He could execute a late flank with his teammates, but I think Fnatic are really potentially going to struggle now as they attempt to just quickly peek this yellow stairs. Oh, but it works out. There's 2 quick kills for Fnatic here on match point. 30 seconds left for Aero, and they have the numbers disadvantage. Oh, but no, picking around the corner. Rizraz finds that kill, pushing her on the rear side. Fnatic in such a strong position as they reattempt this plant. They'll take control of above, clear out all the utility. Mirror now open. Rizraz takes down Speakeasy. Ysera in a 1 versus 5 for the series. Milan is on the line here for Fnatic, or is this overtime? No, Fnatic will be taking us to the Milan Pro League Finals.
Oh, what a match from Fnatic. They really had a lot of pressure there, and Aero played such a game, but Fnatic just too strong in the end.
From APAC, both making their way through to the season finals, and now both making their way through to the global finals as well. Such a heartbreaker for Aerowolf, though. They've really had the dream run up to this point, and it almost feels sad to say that it's now over.
Yeah, heartbreak is a great word. Poor Aero, they've experienced so much heartbreak at these lands, and there was such little expectation of them. They brought this to the 3rd map, and 7-5, the scoreline, so close to them they could taste it.
We all thought that the writing was written on the wall after map number 1, 7-3 for Fnatic. We thought that was GG. We thought, okay, Aerowolf, maybe that was a fluke against Cloud9. Maybe it was reflective of Cloud9's performance. But no, Fnatic are on top of their game right now. And despite Aerowolf putting up a huge, huge fight, Fnatic are still clearly one of the best teams in APAC.
Yeah, certainly a very, very solid performance out from both teams there. But again, it just continues that storyline. It seems like the APAC Finals is such a stronghold for Fnatic and Norarengo.
Yeah, they keep getting a lot of good fights, but they keep coming out with the results, and it's a real credit to their strength and consistency as their rosters. So full credit to them there.
I think there's also a lot of credit to the rest of the teams in the APAC region who have showed their performances today. We've seen teams like Cyclops put, Fnatic in the position where they've really had to fight for 2 maps, both of the maps they've taken. We have, of course, here where we see Aerowolf, destroy Cloud9 and then come on, put a huge fight against Fnatic. We've got teams like Xavier who have also, done incredibly well. So I think that, obviously Fnatic are the names that we'll be talking about here, but the entire region has just been working so well, and this is more competitive than we've ever seen before.
Are these the best 2 representatives that we could have hoped for going into the global finals?
I think so. I think they're definitely the clear strongest. I say clear, but they were both challenged very strongly in their lead here, so I don't think it's necessarily that they're dominantly out in front of the entire region. I think the region is really catching up, and it's really great to see so many really strong competitive matches at these APAC lands now.
Look, Fnatic and Norengo are the best teams in APAC, but, what's so important for keeping their strength is also the fact that they have very strong competition, and I think that's a testament to the rest of these teams.
I think that's a really exciting storyline headed into next season as well, because we've seen so many close matches that kind of really could have gone either way. With another season under their belt, for example, for Aerowolf, for teams like Xavier, who are kind of on the up and up, and it's interesting to say that about Aerowolf, given where we know they've come from. But it sort of makes me feel like every season that we're getting to see go by here in Rainbow Six in the APAC region, things are kind of getting closer and closer, but we still have that dominant 2.
Yeah, it definitely is getting closer and closer, like you said. We had different favorites coming into the finals. We all thought that potentially Xavier might make it to the final, which meant that Noro wouldn't have. And even on the other side of the bracket with Fnatic and yesterday Aero taking out C9, C9 was a pretty heavy favorite as well.
It's actually only been 1 year since we've seen Fnatic and Norengo be the representatives at the finals. And look, that's the first time we ever saw both of them head to a global final event, because previously it was Ainz and Cloud9 who were the ones that we saw at most of those global events. But now, this event marks a year since both Fnatic and Norengo headed to Atlantic City, and now they'll both head together arms in arms to Milan.
Yeah, excited to see what both of those 2 teams can do, but we still have one more person to chime in with, and that is, of course, one of the Fanatics of Magnet, Danny Kim, on the stage.
One of the Fanatics of Magnet? I don't even know what that means, but yes, I am here with Magnet from Fnatic now. At the end of that game, I saw it up close and personal, very vocal, obviously means a lot to you. How much does it mean now that you've locked your place into Milan?
It just means that all the hard work we put in has actually gone somewhere. We secured probably the next 6 months worth of competitions, but I really want to give this win to my team. They're all talking so much more this game. I didn't have to IGL as much as well, but the win's on them and it just feels really good.
That's awesome. Now, that second map, not really going the way you want it to be. There was some serious faces coming out of that one, and Dizzle very vocal there. What was said in that break?
Every single time we have played Aerowolf, it has always gone to map 3. So it was pretty much, we've gone to map 3 every time. Let's do it again. Let's send them home on that 3rd map.
And of course, Norengo for that seeded spot there. This is the match that I think everyone was expecting. What's the confidence levels like heading to this one?
Dizzle has always said that whether you think you can win or whether you think you can lose, you're right. Obviously, we think we can win this game, but Norengo really hot after that first game against Xavier. So I think it'll be a good match, hopefully.
Absolutely. So a little bit of a break there. Congratulations on the win and the ticket to Milan, Magnet. Always a pleasure, mate. But don't go anywhere. We have Fnatic taking on Norengo for that #1 seed for the APAC region in Milan. Do not go anywhere.